Hey everyone, it's Shelly Hoffman here with our mayor, Dick Clarke, with another update of what's been going on in the village. And, we talked for a couple minutes before we got started, Mayor, and there's quite a bit going on, as always in our community, which is nice. So, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been very busy. Somebody said to me the other day, "Must be nice. You don't even have to worry about anything because everything's shut down." I said, "I'm working 3 times harder from home than when we were under our normal situation because nothing happens without a question, without an okay. When before somebody would say, 'We're going to open a window,' it's like, now are we allowed to open a window type thing, and so it's just constant every day. There's stuff going on and contacting the county, contacting the state to say they would like to do this. What about nurse or our senior center? Is there going to be some guidance on when that might be able to open and how they have to do it? Normally the senior center just operates. Thank goodness I have my wife as my partner because she gets the Zoom stuff set up for our meeting, which is tomorrow night at 7:30, which will be live. Um, and but normally for a Thursday meeting, I just have dinner at 5:30, 10 minutes to 6. I head down to Village Hall. I go up and sit down. I go through the folder that Mo has ready for the meeting. People come in. We have our meeting, and I come home. Now we have to do the Zoom, and is this the right email for this one? And now you wanted it 7 work session, and so it's a lot more for me, a lot more detail that I wasn't dealing with before. So um, it does kind of wear you down a little bit. I'm sure you have a business and that things that maybe before just happened, and now you have to, every step you take, it's like walking on a minefield. Make sure you put your foot down in the right place and it doesn't come back to haunt you. But a
Right.
lot going on. Obviously, the virus stuff is still going. We're in phase 2, which I'm sure that's affected you, right?
Yeah.
As you've been able to meet with people, or if it's not.
Yeah, we can do in-person showings now. If somebody wants to see a home, we can walk through. It's up to the broker. So that's one interesting thing about my industry is the broker has the final say. We're independent contractors, but we work for, we represent that broker. So the we're allowed to do in-person showings as long as the broker of that company. So I can't speak for everybody, but at our brokerage, we are doing in-person showings with masks, gloves, sanitizer, and social distancing. So.
Yeah. And I know we had contacted each other last Friday when we found out that from the state we hadn't gotten the okay yet.
Right.
And our particular friend we knew, Renee, was fired up to start doing hair, and
Well,
I wouldn't want to be in Renee's way at that moment. But fortunately, by about 1 o'clock, the governor said, sort of matter of fact, "Oh, well, yeah, you can open. We've had the data checked," and it's like, would you come on and quit playing games with people? So those people are going. I know my sister got her hair cut the other day. She was thrilled. So it's that little bit, again, that little bit of a normal life. I know she said she had to wash her hair at home,
mhm.
and then they did not use a blow dryer, but she got it cut and it looked really nice, and she felt more human. And I'm sure there's a lot of people feel the same. They'll take whatever they can get. Um,
Right.
so we're
The
in phase 2. Um,
Yeah. I was going to say too, we have a couple businesses opening today because they just wanted to make sure. So Fashion Rescue 911 today, she's letting people, small amounts of people. The Savvy She Shed is opening up in the village. Tomorrow's her first day. It's a little bit slow, a little bit of life coming,
yep,
but I think we've talked before, a little hesitant, do it the right way, make sure we don't spike those numbers back up because we move too quickly. So,
yeah. And then our country is facing some turmoil now with the protests, and way beyond the protests is the riots and the damage that's being done to private property, and you know I think I feel like everybody that I've talked to feels the same way, that what happened to George Floyd was awful.
yeah.
And again, we ask people to not judge police by one guy. I mean, I look at our police department. Yesterday we had I guess I'll label it as a protest because that's, I think, kind of what it was. in a sense, but it was the young people of Baldwinsville gathered down in the square and did their little, they had posters and they spoke and they chanted and they walked through the village, and our police department was right in the middle of it with them. It wasn't like the police against the kids type of, it was a cooperation, which you and I have talked about. You know, our village is kind of a special place. We are able to do things like that, and I don't think people were shocked that it went off well. I mean, maybe a little surprised based on what's been going on, but the kids marched through the streets. You know, they were on the sidewalk. I saw Marty Knoll, our school resource officer, walking with them. And then at the end, when they were coming back towards the square, I saw Mike Leffencheck, our chief, was walking with the kids. He'd ask them if it was all right. And they all went, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have you walk with us." So it was, I heard nothing but good things on Facebook from people saying how they got the message that people were trying to, you know, get across, and it was done in a very controlled way, and people appreciated that, and they were very proud of our kids, you know, our young people, the adults who were involved. So hats off to everybody who was involved and who made that work.
Well, I want to just chime in too real quick that, you know, it was about Mr. Floyd, George Floyd, but the resource officer actually had asked everyone to take a knee, and they had taken that knee, and when they were rising up, they said it wasn't just for him, it was for, you know, all the lives lost. And so that was the recognition of the kids too. They knew what they were there for. They knew that it was one horrible, horrific thing that happened that brought them together, but it's just the history of everything over time, you know, that they wanted to recognize as well. So that was nice.
And it was nice too, because from everything I heard from the Floyd family on videos and stuff, they said that George would not have wanted the bad reaction, that he wasn't that kind of guy. That so our kids, I say kids, and that's not a very nice term sometimes, but our young people did it in a respectful way that probably, from what I've heard about George Floyd, would have fit his personality, which is nice. So that went very well. I really wasn't concerned that it would be a problem. I mean, I have a lot of faith in our school kids and stuff. And Jaden, the young lady who put it all together, should be very proud of herself.
Absolutely.
She did a great job and coordinated with our police department. And so, you know, hats off to her.
Yeah.
That wasn't easy. Some other things to note on our Facebook and our website for the village is the paving schedule for the summer, which I think starts maybe the 10th. There's like 3 or 4 days of milling and then 3 or 4 days of paving those same streets, so that people should check that out, because it might be their street, and you might for a day or a half a day, like if you go to work at 7 in the morning, they may be out with grinding up the stuff on the street, and you may get blocked in for a time. So if you can park in a neighbor's, backyard neighbor's type driveway and get out of there without a problem, it's a chance to be forewarned. And we have pretty extensive, aggressive paving program, and we're doing more than normal. It's all basically neighborhood streets as opposed to the main street. Next year, I believe Tappan and Downer Street are the big things on the agenda, and they'll take up most of the money that we have for paving. But this year it's mostly, I know there's one in Baldwin Hill, maybe like Division Street. So people should go and check that schedule so they don't get blocked in or not be able to get back to their house and be shocked that, why can't I get to my home? Also on our Facebook site and our website, I posted today, and Mo will be posted on the website, the summer concert series and fireworks schedule and stuff is all completely canceled. The concert series has been rescheduled in full for next year. I mean, they all just pushed it back. You kind of like what's happened at the amphitheater, at St. Joe's Amphitheater. They've done the same thing, so that the bands just realize that they couldn't get themselves together to practice.
Right.
A lot of that kind of stuff. And our promoter just felt he didn't, you have to keep security lined up, and it just was going to be too big a thing. As far as we know, the Taste of Baldwinsville has not been affected yet. So, we're hoping that can still be a go, that by September, maybe things will have changed a little bit where in some manner that can still take place. So that hasn't been scrapped yet.
All right, you're off the hook, because if you remember before we started, what did I tell you about bad news?
Yeah, right. I wasn't supposed to tell you bad news. Sorry about that. Another thing to bring up, it's not really bad news, but we've been getting complaints about the trash on the bridge from fishermen.
Yeah.
And last week I talked to Steve D'Arcangelo about it. Could we get over? I noticed that the garbage cans were full. It was like on Thursday morning, I went over the bridge, and it was, if you look, if you're asking people to put the trash in the can and then the can's full,
Right.
it doesn't work so well. And normally they pick up the trash from the different cans on Friday morning, but we may have to look at a more aggressive twice a week picking up trash, because we do have more people out on the streets walking. We've encouraged people to go to the parks and, isolate, but enjoy the beauty of our parks. So they're going to be out more. They're going to stop and grab a sandwich at the deli, or, candy at the candy place, Sweet Dreams or whatever, and have a bag left over. And we need to make sure that they deposit them in the garbage cans. Right. The fishermen, the biggest problem with them is a lot of them are not from the village. People come out from the city. They like fishing here. And I understand it's a nice spot to fish. We've kept that open. And over the years, different people have questioned why we allow fishing, because it's hard to walk across the bridge when everybody's casting. And I've always enjoyed walking across the bridge when they're there. And I stop and talk to some of the fishermen and ask, how things are going. And then you can encourage them at that point and point at the ground and say, that styrofoam container, that's not going to be there when you leave, right? Oh, no, I'll put it away. And I noticed Saturday coming over the bridge that Bob Thibault, one of our officers, was parked at the Red Mill, and he was at the other end of the bridge talking to some fishermen, and in his hand he had 2 big soda containers that he was walking over to the trash can. So he showed them by example and gave them the message, and hopefully it will get better. I noticed also Saturday morning that the bridge was clean. It was Friday. I think we picked up Thursday, and then we may have gone back Friday again on a regular pickup, so that there was a place to put trash, and probably the police, knowing that there was a bit of a Memorial Day service going on Saturday, people had the bridge picked up. So that's a concern. I know people don't like the mess that ends up on the bridge. We don't either. And we've been reluctant to get rid of fishing, because we think with people fish there when I was a kid, and I'm sure long before that. But if it gets to where we can't control it, that might happen.
Can I ask you a question, Mayor?
Sure.
I've always wondered this. Fishing is on, if I'm heading away from, Sammy Malone's, and I'm going over the bridge towards Two Twisted Sisters Olive Eatery. There's fishing allowed on the right side. Why is fishing not allowed on the left side?
Well, I think way back at some point the decision was made, let's keep one open. So if people do have a problem walking through there, because face it, ends up with dead worms and, stuff on the ground. And plus, you get 4 or 5 guys together and they're yelling at each other, and maybe the conversation isn't family oriented. And so if you walk, you can cross on the other side of the bridge and avoid it. So it kept one lane open for people who didn't want to be around the fish.
We've had my friends and I have had some debates on what the reason was for that, and that obviously was one of the suggestions that had come up. Some other things about fishermen getting pulled with the top, all kinds of crazy things that people have said, but I figured it was going to be a clear path.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they picked the one side over the other, except that there was a business at each end. Although I'm not sure at the time that I mean, when that decision was made, I'm not sure Sammy Malone's was there. It might have still been, there was a Henderson's auto repair
Yeah.
place was at that spot for years and years. I'm not sure anybody would be worried about fishermen hanging too close to that, but excuse me, there were businesses at the other end of the bridge. There was a tavern, Ray's Tavern, and different things in that short block. So that may have gone into the decision. But that was the idea, was to offer a lane of crossing the bridge that you wouldn't have to go by the fishermen.
Okay.
And I mentioned Saturday morning, it was very nice, very quiet, small observance. We started at the post office at that monument, stopped at the bridge and threw a wreath in the river, went to St. Mary's Cemetery. Priest from Bishop Ludden read a small prayer type of thing. And then we went over to the Riverview Cemetery and had an abbreviated observance there, flags at half staff, placing wreaths at the flag and at the monument. The Logan's orders were read along with in Flanders Field. And then it was in an hour, the whole thing from the start at the post office to the end at Riverview was just about an hour.
Okay.
The chief and lieutenant were there. The two commanders of the VFW and the American Legion were there. A couple of trumpet players who just did a great job with taps and the Star Spangled Banner and Amazing Grace. It was very touching, and it was something that we felt we really wanted to make sure that there was an official observance to remember those who have given their lives for our country. And I thought it was very tastefully done. Hats off to all the people who organized it on kind of short notice.
Yeah. Pac B has it. They put a video together. I shared it on my page, Heart Home Community, and it's also on the Pac B page. But I think they did a great job of kind of capturing
Yep.
at each location that you guys had gone to that day.
And everybody had masks, and social distancing was observed. I moved out of the way so I wasn't going to be near anybody, and didn't realize that the guy with the trumpet was like about 5-6 feet behind me. I was more worried about my ears than my virus connection, so I had to move again. But it was just very nice. That cemetery is such a beautiful place to be for something like that, with the river going by and the ducks were swimming by during the observance. And I hope that people who had loved ones that were lost in combat, and serving our country, felt that they were duly recognized on Saturday. So, few things of more normal follow-up stuff. There's one other thing you may have heard, that the Kiwanis is planning some sort of a drive-in theater type of thing for senior class of
Really?
2020.
I have not. Now I'm going to have to look into that.
I got a message yesterday from the Kiwanis asking to record a 10-second congratulations type of thing, and it said it was going to be for seniors and their parents and family. I guess it's going to just be limited to the class, which is, when you limit to the class, I mean, it's over 400 people. So if the family shows up, we're talking about maybe 2,000 people. But I know that they have a new drive-in movie type screen that's been erected. I don't know if it's in the Orange parking lot, but to be used throughout the summer for that type of thing. So probably people will be hearing more about it since it's the 14th. It's less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Canton Woods still operating the way they've been. May have seen their virtual art show on Pac B. Was very nice to see. Everybody got to display 2 of their pieces of art and kind of explain why they did what they did, or what the style was. Apparently there was an assignment in some cases to try to use material in with your painting, cloth and stuff. So some of them were very different, but very good. And you could tell that people were quite proud to show off their stuff, and appreciate Mike Conway, the art teacher, and Joe Lafredo, who came out of retirement to tape it. And I know Ruth was very happy, felt that it was a nice connection for the people who hadn't been at the center to see some of the faces of people that were active in the art group. They still are planning, Peace is still planning the drive-in, pick up two frozen meals for the week. Or actually it's going to be Monday and Friday. It's going to be 2 days. So I guess you'll just get a meal. They're going to be frozen, but no date has been set. Ruth said she thought it would be within the next 2 weeks or so, but whenever Peace could get it all set up. The DPW, I mentioned, a couple projects that is on the docket. We have some work through community development grant money at the senior center, going to replace the floor in the big room. And then there's the divider door that now is individual pieces that you drag one at a time and line them up. Now it will be something that will be on a track, and the whole wall will be able, but it will be light, so that, because as Steve pointed out, there's times when Ruth is the one pulling it, and as opposed to one of the DPW guys or the custodial guy who helps her set up sometimes. Excuse me. So again, we're still trying to figure out how the senior center how it will look when we get the okay to start opening it up. Also the seniors on Steve's docket, the paving. Things keep popping into my head. The fireworks situation. Somebody asked on Facebook, well, why couldn't you have fireworks and just not let people go on the island? Well, the big concern is if you say you're having fireworks, we always have people from Phoenix, Camillus, Memphis, Cato, Fulton. People want to see fireworks. So now we're asking people to come into we're not asking, but we're going to get them to come into our village. And you can say nothing on the island, but then they'll all go to Mercer Park, or they'll all line up on River Street. They'll all line up on the bridge. I mean, there's a lot of nice places to watch fireworks, but if you got a couple thousand people, hard to have 6 foot distancing and have everybody have a nice spot. And you just know that's people are going to come in and get in between people. And so at this point, until we get clearance, this is not our decision. I mean, this has been handed down from above, that at this point, they do not want fireworks. They do not want alcohol being included in part of takeout and sit down at a table at that site. There are places that have tables that people can get their meal and then stop at the table and sit, eat. They leave. The establishment is now responsible to clean that table off, but no alcohol can be served at the table. Or if you buy a growler and take it out, you can't pour it for you and your buddy to have dinner. And that's from above us. We've not made that decision. That was Ryan McMahon at least talking about it. I don't know if he got that from the state, but that's a county decision for the time being. Maybe that will change. I don't know.
I will say, Mayor, and I talked to you about this, when you said sometimes your job's a little bit more involved than it was, pre-COVID-19, it's because you have people like me, right? And some of my friends who will text you and say, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? And one of the things, Katrina Grady, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her or not, but she's a great community person that we have here in Baldwinsville. And, she's always supporting the restaurants and different things. And she thought we could put tables, which I talked to you about. And I went on after I talked to Greg and Steve and you and Chief Leffenchak and everyone in the village thinks it's a great idea, but like you said, you don't always have control. And it did come down from Ryan McMahon. If there's tables out, like Angry Garlic has tables, Chamvalot's Coffee, he's always had tables. If the tables have been there, I guess they're there, but you can't take new tables, correct? If I understand, and put them out. And again, the sanitizing of the tables, things like that. So it's great that the community always comes up with really ideas, and it's a shame that even though you and other people in your position think they're great ideas, we really are still underneath the county, the state,
Right.
and in the order in which we can do things. So I just wanted to throw that out there to people in case there was some confusion as to why those things aren't happening.
And I'm glad you did, because Ryan McMahon, believe me, they're $100 million short, and he would love sales tax to start building up by opening a lot of businesses, and he's been very progressive in he's trying to get Destiny. The word came down, no malls can open, and he thinks Destiny, of all places, should be able to social distance. People should be able to stay 6 feet apart. I mean, Destiny's, huge. I mean, they call it, one part of it, the canyon, because it's like a canyon. I mean, you can walk and go around people and not be near people, and you could still have 1,000 people in the mall. So while people might get upset and think, well, the county's dragging their feet, they really aren't. If you remember last Thursday, Ryan McMahon said we're a go for phase 2 tomorrow, based on all the numbers and what they told us 2 weeks. And then Friday, he was not a happy camper because he felt he looked bad that he had stuck his neck out, and the governor made him wait. And so Ryan McMahon is trying to get businesses going as fast as possible, but he also has to tell every day how many people passed away, and I think it's taken a toll on him every day, having to say 2 more, 3 more. It is very difficult, and he's done a terrific job. I've said that before, and I just can't imagine having to stand up there every day and say, well, we lost 4 more people, and it's not an easy job. And then when you look at $100 million deficit, and they support all the local communities, because when the sales tax was taken away from us 10 years ago, the county found a way to get us some of that money back, not as sales tax money, but as infrastructure money. And he's been very supportive of that. I don't know, they're going to be $100 million short. Are they going to lay off half their staff, or are they going to cut what they give to us? I mean, or both. So it's a little scary. We're waiting for the federal government maybe to pony up and say, here's money for, they've given money to cities above 500,000 people. So all the big cities have gotten money. But Syracuse is not that big. Syracuse is really hurting financially right now, as is the county. Most of us at the local have survived because we were fortunate that our taxes were due starting March 1st. And so by the time the shutdown came near the end of March, most of our residents had paid their taxes. So that chunk of our revenue is in.
Yeah.
But a lot of the towns start paying in June 1st, I think. People are going to be hurting, and they may not get that chunk of money that they, like we did. So much unknown and it's scary, and we're trying to get back to normal. I know Mo is trying to work out a schedule where the clerk's office they'll be in there more often. We still aren't ready to open doors. Maybe by appointment. We haven't gotten to that point yet. But the village clerk's office is set up where Mo has an office, the treasurer has a separate office, and then the 2 clerks who work out in the main room, there's a partition of glass, plastic, whatever it is, in between them, which is kind of what's called for. That's been there all the time. And there's questions about the air conditioning, circulating, if somebody was in with a virus. We have the thermometer, to test people. So anybody who has to come in the office, including the workers, will have to get tested every day, and log in that they have no symptoms and that type of stuff. We may continue to have the clerks split some time to try not to overburden the office physically.
Yeah.
So let me just check and see if there's anything that I might have wanted to make sure to point out. Oh, I did get a note back from Jeff Rogers at the Angry Garlic. I had sent him a question about how they were doing, and he said doing good. He's got about 3/4 of his staff working. That it took some time to get used to being a takeout and a delivery kind of a operation, but now that they've gotten into it, which I guess they picked up pretty quickly. I mean, he's got good people working for him, as do most of our businesses. So another one of our businesses that's surviving, and I hope that with phase 2 opens, some more of the hairdressers and the barbers, and I know that one of the guys that was on Ryan McMahon, one of the TV guys, Andrew Donovan, when they said the barber shops were open, he couldn't get an appointment until like a week and a half later because people were flooding with trying to get in and get their hair cut. Yeah. And that's going to be a different system. I mean, I normally go to the place right there by Sammy Malone's, and I'll have to find out what their plan is. For the time being, my wife has been my caretaker of the locks. She does a pretty good job, actually. She's gotten pretty good at it. Just to look and make sure. There is no curfew anymore. That was just for the 2 nights. Our police department was ready.
They did a good job with that. I will say the orthodontist in the village, Dr. Ranieri's office, I got a call from them today, and Allison's actually going at 12:45. She's my daughter with braces. Very similar to the hair salons. You know, I'm going to call when I get there. They gave me a number to call. Make sure she brushes her teeth because they can't brush your, you should always brush your teeth beforehand. But let's be honest, sometimes the kids end up brushing their teeth when they get there. So those things can't happen. Mask going in, hand sanitizer. The kids need to hand sanitize their hands, stuff like that. But and then a mask going out. And if anything needs to be purchased, it needs to be done, kind of outside. So it's different. But again, they're opening. They're back to trying to see the clients in half-an-hour increments, so nobody's there at the same time. So
and it is a little scary because you think about, like, I've had a broken tooth now for about a month. It hasn't bothered me. I tried to stay away, and I worry about picking up something, but they worry about picking up something. So I mean, it's not just the patient. And I know my dentist is pretty sane. I mean, he's very careful about everything. I mean, everything goes very slow, and I think that makes me feel a little better that he's very cautious, and they've already been. I mean, they had been wearing masks from before, so the regular masks, and they wear eye protection and stuff. So it won't be too new for them, but. I hope people can stay patient. It's going to take time. You're not going to be able to call the dentist up and say, I think I might have a cavity. My tooth's bothering me. And it's like, well, I'm going to be 10, 12 days before we can get you in, because usually they get you in for an emergency.
Right.
It might depend on how bad the emergency is. So hopefully we'll get through phase 2 and on to phase 3, and that people will see that we are trying to do what we need to do. I know that people are resistant. Well, we shouldn't have to wear masks. And come on, be a little patient. You don't have to wear your mask when you're out walking your dog. If you don't come near anybody, you don't have to wear it driving your car if you're in your car alone, type stuff. I think that's everything I have. I'm going to be speaking to the Rotary Club today at noon. That's always a pleasure because there's so many good friends in the Rotary, and they're such a great operation. So that's one of the nice things. This was scheduled back in January, and so a lot more to talk about than I might have expected. So again, hats off to you and all the people that do this kind of stuff. We're so blessed that we have a Pack B. I don't know how other communities get information out, because I know that when we say stuff, I see reactions on Facebook from, well, I heard today. So we were talking about it. I'm assuming that's where they heard it. other communities don't have packed beef, and I don't think our people realize how lucky we are. So.
Yeah. And I just talked to your sister this morning, and they're a group of people too that care about the community. So when things come from the heart, more positive things come out of it, and they're always striving to make sure that they're getting out the information that needs to get out there. So I completely agree and concur with that positive news, unlike some of the negative news you gave me today, like my content series.
and I feel sincerely scolded for telling you anything bad, because that was the order. I couldn't tell you any bad news today. But some more good than bad, I hope.
Yes, and obviously I was teasing. I just so much negativity in the news. I thought, let's just have some positivity today, Mayor.
No,
but I love our village, and even bad news isn't horrible news. So
yeah, I agree with you. I think people are looking for good stuff.
Yeah.
And hopefully, most of it. I mean, the fact that things are canceled, but the fact is the music schedule, which was looking very good for this summer, has just all been moved to next summer. So we'll get to hear the same bands. Just got to wait a year.
Just a year later.
So that's.
Well, I have a feeling I'm going to see you in about 25 minutes on the Rotary meeting.
Oh, okay.
And I look forward to that, because I'm sure there's questions that they're going to have. I mean, that's the beauty of questions in groups of people, is they have questions that I'm not thinking of, or maybe other people watching this are not thinking of. So I'm looking forward to that talk. And we have another Student of the Month for Rotary. One more senior is getting recognized, so you'll get to see that when you come on the Zoom meeting today. So
that's good.
All right, Mayor. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy your day, and you'll be seeing me sitting in the parking lot in my car at the orthodontist appointments for my daughter on the Zoom. Take care.
Sally. Take care. Bye bye.